Shalom, 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 my brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your brother Ananias.
Brother Leonidas.
Brother Ezekiel.
We are A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel, and as always, it's an honor, it's a privilege to come before you each and every week with hopes and regards of teaching you and uplifting you in spirit and teaching you something that you didn't know yesterday. But before we get started, we want to give all honor, glory, and praise to the one, the only, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being his son, who the world calls Christ in the Paleo-Hebrew. Through his extreme sacrifice and example, we are all able to be here today. So we appreciate everybody tuning in and the brothers and sisters that will tune in later on, Lord willing. But nonetheless, happy Sabbath to you all. Shabbat Shalom and welcome. And today's class is called You Can Kill a Revolutionary, but you can never kill the revolution. You can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution. Now, that's what we're going to go into today because, for one, being in this truth, you realize that being in this world, you have become somewhat of a revolutionary. Being in this truth forces you to go against the grain. It forces you to stand up and move in a righteous manner, which is contrary to the ways of this world. So by default, by being in this truth, you, my brother, my sister, have become a revolutionary. And you've been doing this since day one, whether you know it or not. Since the beginning of time, you have been a revolutionary. And this revolution that we are in right now, this truth, our conquest to stand in righteousness and walk that righteous path is exactly what we're doing day in and day out. That's the mission. That's the goal, to endure day in and day out as a revolutionary. But though some of us may be locked, some of us may be killed, locked away, you can't stop this revolution, this movement. You can't stop the words of the Most High. You can't stop this truth. And that's what we want to make sure that our brothers and sisters understand. We're going to go into some history of the different things that we as a nation of people have endured during our life, during the history of our nation, why these things happen and what's going to happen in the end, you know. So bear with me right quick. Let me put this on the screen. This is where we're going to start off with, knowing and understanding that we are revolutionary.
Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party.
Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary.
You're looking at 18 months for the stolen car, 5 years for impersonating a federal officer, or you can go home.
The Black Panthers are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Their aim is to sow hatred and inspire terror.
I will learn all that I can.
These ain't no terrorists.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom. I'm gonna die for the people because I live for the people. I live for the people because I love the people.
Because we love the people. Therefore, you understand that we are revolutionary. That's the movie Black Messiah, but it's actually going into the Black Panther movement. And that was Fred Hampton, who that brother was portraying in that movie. But nonetheless, the message that he was portraying to the people is that we, as a nation of people, are what you would call revolutionary. Why? Because we have to go against the grain. Now, what is a revolution? Let's go into that right quick, you know, because we might have a youth tuning in. They've never heard these things before. But if you around my age or older, you know exactly what's going on. You know, but the youth, they don't know anything about a revolution because your enemy, our enemies, have been trying hard day in and day out to smooth everything over to make things seem as if these things never happened, where oppression is not in existence, where when you speak truth is hate, you know, where everybody loves one another, where we're all one people. But that's not the case. In fact, it's the complete opposite, a lie. And that's what this country is built off of. Babylon the Great, the influence that is spread around the world is built on lies and has blinded our people, for lack of a better term. But we, being woken up to this truth, we have realized what's really going on. So it's our job, as commanded by the Lord, to revolt against the wickedness of this world, to turn against it. And that's what you would call a revolution. All right. Brother Zeke, can you read that?
Yes. Hold up. Bring it back up. Okay. Revolution. The action by celestial body of going round in orbit, elliptical course.
That's talking about the sun and the moon. That's not what we want. Let me scroll down. All right. Definition 2. Let me blow it up a little more. There you go.
All right. Okay. Revolution. A sudden, radical, or complete change.
A sudden or radical complete change. Read.
A fundamental change in political organization.
All right. So it's a sudden, radical, and complete change. All right. Let's go into some shrink that down a little bit. To some synonyms right quick. It said to revolt, to be in a rebellion, an uprising, a mutiny, an insurrection, an outbreak, an overthrow, sedition. You see these things? These are the terms that go along with revolution. Now let's look into revolutionary. All right. Can you read it?
Yes. Bring it down.
Let me get some synonyms because the definition is just it's a person involved in a revolution. All right. But what are the synonyms?
All right. We got extreme. We got extremist, fanatic, fanatical, radical, crazy.
See that? When you are going against the grain, majority of people, especially in today's society, the media will label you as crazy, an extremist, or even what's the word they look? A conspiracy theorist, you know? When you are extreme, when you go against the grain, when you don't follow the narrative, when you start asking questions, you become a radical. When you don't want to follow the things that you know to be wicked, you become a revolutionist, fanatical, rabid, you know? These are the things that take place from being a revolutionary. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah right quick. Jeremiah chapter 28. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah chapter 28. Verse 7 and 8.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28, verse 7. Nevertheless, hear thou now this word that I speak in thine ears, and the ears of all the people. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence.
Read that last part again. They had prophesied about what?
They prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence.
So the prophets of old time have been called what you would label today revolutionary. You know, the prophets that been before me and have before of the times of old, they prophesied against many countries, meaning they went against the grain, went against the rulership of these other countries, against great kingdoms of war and of evil and pestilence. That is exactly what we as a nation of people are doing today. The brothers and sisters that are hitting the highways and byways, going out there putting their work in. We going out here prophesying about the downfall of these other kingdoms, these other nations, of war and of evil and of pestilence and disease to come. You know, jump down to verse 13 and read to 16.
Verse 13. Go and tell Hananiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Thou hast broken the yoke of wood, but thou shalt make for them yokes of iron.
Read.
For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, I have put a yoke of iron upon the neck of all these nations, that they may serve Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and they shall serve him. And I have given him the beasts of the fields also. Then said the prophet Jeremiah unto Hananiah the prophet, Hear now, Hananiah, the Lord hath not sent thee, but thou makest this people to trust in a lie.
Well, I went to the wrong verse. Salakia, King. But what I wanted to get out of this was how the Lord had the prophet set up from the beginning, where he had them prophesying against the wickedness of these kingdoms. You know, go to Psalm 94 right quick. I wrote down the wrong verse. Go to Psalms chapter 94 right quick.
All right.
Start at verse 16.
All right. The book of Psalms, chapter 94, verse 16. Who will rise up for me against the evildoers, or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity?
That's a call from the Lord. That's a question from the Lord asking his people, who gonna rise up for him against the evildoer? That's what you had the prophets of old doing and the prophets of today's time doing, standing up for the Lord against the evilness, the wickedness of this world. He said, who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? Those who are willingly committing sin, who are lying to the people, having them to believe in lies. Who will rise up for me? That's what the Lord is asking. Who's going to be the revolutionaries of this time? You know, and I wanted to bring something out right quick because in order for us to move in that manner, we got to have a certain mindset. The mindset of a revolutionary is characterized by fearlessness. You can't be afraid to walk and be in His truth. You can't be afraid. That's what you hear from the Lord constantly throughout the scriptures. Be ye therefore not afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Be strong. Be of good courage.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be fearful. You have to be fearless in this truth. Willing to stand 10 toes down for the Lord, for your people, for what is right. And that's what we all glorify when we look to our heroes throughout time. We look and admire their strength, their fearlessness, how they stood bold for what it is that they believed in. You know, mainly our brothers who stood for the Lord, stood for the law, stood for their people. You know, a revolutionary mindset is characterized by fearlessness for a radical change, challenging the status quo and the natural order of things, you know. So
Right.
people may be driven by a vision or a better future, things they see in society, even politics and a cultural change. And they may also be willing to take action, even if it has consequences, like being locked up, even being put to death. We understand being in this truth that, hey, that might be the outcome. We might be put to death. We might end up being locked up, losing our job, fall into a lower state. hey, but we doing this thing for a larger reason, on a larger scale, for a bigger picture, you know, for the Lord, for our people. You know, we're not out here doing this. We're not moving in this spirit just for vainglory, for pats on the back. Nah, we ain't doing it for that, because we were called into this action. The Lord said, who will rise up against the evildoer? Who gonna stand up for me? That's the real question he asking right there. Who gonna stand up for the Lord? Just like our brothers and sisters in time past, they stood up for our people. And the Lord saying, who's gonna stand up for him? Think about that. Now the question is, should oppression have to occur for us to even have to start a revolution, or for a need for a revolution? Should we have to be oppressed in order for these things to happen? Should we just stand for the Lord regardless? But why do we have to be oppressed in order for us to start rallying, walking in the street, marching and protesting? Why is this even happening? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. Why is it that we wait until something go wrong for us to start protesting? Why we don't want to do right from the get-go? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't we just be standing for the Lord day in and day out? Bring it out, King. Deuteronomy 28, 15.
This is the book of Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
See that all these curses will come upon us because we didn't want to listen. Because we were rebellious, all of this oppression that we trying to revolt against came against us. We out there revolting in the street, going, rioting, bombing and burning things down, you know, painting the streets, holding hands, getting beat down, shot at, sprayed, locked up. For what reason? Because of our rebellion. Now, in the beginning, the Lord told us to keep the commandments. We revolted against him. We want to revolutionize then. We want to do our own thing. But he told us, if you did not keep my commandments, I was going to put these curses, these judgments, these punishments on you. So now we out here fighting oppression on a daily basis. Now we trying to gather ourselves together. Now we trying to revolt against the wickedness of this world. And it all stems from our rebellion. Let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon right quick, chapter 11.
Okay.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. And we're going to start at verse 15.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11, verse 15. But for the foolish devices of the wickedness, wherewith being deceived, they worship serpents void of reason, and vile beasts. Thou didst send a multitude of unreasonable beasts upon them for vengeance.
So this is talking about us, how we trusted in foolish devices and wickedness, just like we do today. It said, wherein being deceived, they worship serpents, void of reason. We worshiping the same serpent that was in the garden with Eve, with Adam and Eve. In the beginning, we worshiping wickedness, serpents, individuals with serpent-like qualities, sneaky, crafty, deadly characteristics. We worship and are being deceived by them. And the Lord sent vile beasts, meaning disgusting beasts, unreasonable beasts upon us for vengeance. Read.
Verse 16, that they might know that wherewithal a man sinneth, by the name also shall he be punished.
By the same also shall he be punished. So the Lord is letting us know that the same way a man sins is the same way he's going to be punished. Think about that. The same way you sin is the same way you're going to be punished. That's deep right there. But read, let's go to First Maccabees right quick. First Maccabees chapter 1. chapter 2, verse 19.
It's the book of Maccabees, First Maccabees,
Chapter 2, verse 19.
chapter 2, verse 19.
This is going into brothers, our prophets that had a revolutionary mindset. You know, go ahead.
Verse 19. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice. So all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away everyone from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments.
So right now, this was us being oppressed by the Greeks in times of old. And Mattathias and our people and his brother, and his sons, they revolted against oppression that was happening to our people. So he's saying, hey, though the other nations obey the king's dominion, we ain't giving consent to that. Read.
Verse 20. Yet I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left.
So he letting them know, hey, brothers, sisters, we are not going to turn from the laws of the Most High. Excuse me. Jump down to verse 50. We ain't going to the left. We ain't going to the right. We're going to be obedient. We're going to fight for the Lord. Just like he was asking us in Psalms chapter 94 and 16, who going to stand for the Lord against the workers of iniquity, against the evildoers? Read.
Verse 50. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
Read.
Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name.
Jump down to 61. So right there, he instilling faith in them, building them up, motivating them to stay strong in his faith, in his truth, and continue to push and stand for the Lord. Verse 61, we're going to read that at 64.
Verse 61. And thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome.
So he letting us know, if you put your trust in the Lord, you shall never be overcome. Read.
Fear not then the words of a sinful man.
Read that again.
Fear not then the words of a sinful man.
Fear not the words of a sinful man. Read.
For his glory shall be dung and worms. Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found. Because he is returned into his dust, and his thought is to come to nothing. Wherefore, ye, my sons, be valiant, and shew yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory. Continue. Keep reading.
Brother might have lost brother might have got lost signal. He might be coming
Okay.
on in a few seconds. Where you at on that, bro? What verse you was on?
I'm on verse 64. So, from what he was reading, from verse 61, you said, and thus consider ye throughout all ages that none put their trust in him, none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. So that means when we put our trust in the Most High, we can't be defeated. We the Most High. He's our salvation. He's there to deliver us from. He's the our deliverance from evil. He's the one that's there to fight our battles. He's the one that's going to carry us through. But the only way we can prevail through these things, we gotta be close to the following the law. We
Right.
got to follow the law. We got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. When in verse 62, he says, "Fear not then the words of a sinful man."
Salakia, Israel. Okay. Esau trying to steal the word again. But we're going to keep it pushing, though. All praise to the Most High for allowing us to be able to get back on. All right. Appreciate y'all, brother, staying strong with the word. All right.
I'm going to start back at 63 and read on down.
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay.
Start at 62 again.
62? All right.
Yes, sir.
Verse 62. "Fear not then the words of a sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms."
That means the grave. Read.
"Today he shall be lifted up."
Today he gonna be lifted up. Right now, the same individuals who run in this world, right now they lifted up. Read.
"And tomorrow he shall not be found."
Today he lifted up, but tomorrow in this next world to come, hey, he ain't gonna be found. In the kingdom to come, he ain't gonna be found. Read.
"Because he is returned into his dust, and his thought is come to nothing."
Read.
"Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant and shew yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it ye shall obtain glory."
So that's how we got to be in this truth. We got to be valiant for the Lord, for our brothers and sisters, for this truth. You know what I'm saying? Showing ourselves men. That's what it means to be a man, to keep the charge of the Lord, to keep the commandments. That's what the Lord say. You don't read nowhere in the scripture where it say, hey, you pay all the bills, that makes you a man. You can lift 500 pounds on the bench, that make you a man. You can run a mile in boots or in shoes without stopping. That don't make you a man. The Lord said, Mattathias was telling his son, be valiant and show yourselves men in behalf of the law. For in it ye shall obtain glory. That's how we supposed to be striving each and every day. Not for the wickedness and the vanity of this world. Jump down to verse 67.
Verse 67. "Take also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people."
You see, all throughout history, we see how our brothers and sisters, we get fed up with the oppression, the wrongdoings of our brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? And that's in our spirit, whether we know it or not. Hey, the Lord, that's a commandment right there. Take also unto you all those that observe the law. And that's the one thing that our people are missing throughout history. We've always stood 10 toes down against oppression, but we never took those with us who observed the law, meaning the laws of the Most High God. Yahweh Shem Yahushua. We just took warriors with us, but we didn't take those who would observe the law so that the Lord would be fighting with us. We just went to fight because we were in our emotions or we seen the wrong of our people, not realizing that the wrong of our people was being pushed on us because of our rebellion. Read on.
Verse 68. "Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law."
You see that? Reward, recompense fully the heathen. That's what we striving to do now. First, we got to gather the army together in order to even stand up against the heathen. Recompense fully the heathen. The heathen are anybody outside the nation of Israel. And take heed to the commandments of the law. We're supposed to be learning and applying the commandments day in and day out. If you ain't taking time to do that each and every day, hey, you need to check yourself. You got to examine yourself. Because us not keeping the commandments is the reason why we're in the condition that we're in right now. And if you find yourself struggling, you need to wonder why. Go back to find what are the commandments. Why am I not keeping them? How can I keep them better? How can I teach to keep the commandments? You know, so I can recompense the heathen fully. All right. So what we were reading right here was Mattathias speaking to his sons, building them up in the spirit, having them to be motivated to stand boldly for the Lord and for the commandments of the law and for our brothers and sisters. Teaching them how to not be fearful, but to be fearless. Christ spoke about this as well. Let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. Matthew chapter 10, verse 28.
Book of Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both the soul, destroy both soul and body in hell.
You see that? Yahushua was telling the disciples, hey, don't fear nobody that can kill the body. Just like Mattathias was telling his sons. Just like the disciples knew about it. Just like Moses knew about it. Just like the brothers and sisters who have stood boldly in times past, not giving a damn about their body being killed. You know what I'm saying? That's spiritual as well. And fear not them which kill the body. When you standing for this truth, you standing for your people, you got to be willing to give your life just like Christ did. But are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him, meaning Yahweh, which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. So Christ was motivating them, hey, stand bold. Don't be fearful of how folks screw their face up, how your family try to reject you, your friends reject you, how people look down on you. Stand boldly, stand for something. Stand for the love of the Lord, stand for your people. A lot of people are fearful in this world and in this truth. You know, you need to check yourself and examine yourself daily. If you're walking around being scared of what people think of you, hey, you might not be what the Lord looking for. Or, I mean, you got a long road to go to build your spirit up because you got to be out there on the front line willing to die for this truth, to save your people, you know, just like brothers and sisters in times of old. All right, I'm going to show this quick video right quick just to show you how our people have constantly been oppressed, but they have constantly stood the test time after time. All right. Which one is it? This is some of the Northern Kingdom. They went through the same things that we went through. They stood bold. This is the brown berets for our brothers and sisters who are young, new to this truth, who never knew anything about it. These were the brown berets. At the same time that the Black Panther movement was going on, guess what? You had so-called Hispanics or Latinos standing up, fighting against oppression, just like we, as so-called Black folks, was doing as well. And you had the AIM movement, which was the American Indian movement. They were standing against oppression. Why? Because we all the same people. Once again, these are the things that they will never teach you in your schools. You will never hear this in elementary, junior high, or middle school, or high school, or even college for that matter. They try to suppress this. They don't want you to build your spirit up. They don't want you to start questioning things. Like, why were they standing? Why were they marching? Why were they out there protesting? They don't want you to ask these type of questions. So the main thing or the crafty thing a serpent would do would try to suppress it, try to hide it, try to erase it, you know? Say that again, King.
The same thing they're doing right now.
Right. Trying to remove history of our history from the school system. They'll leave George Washington and the Revolutionary War about tea bags and Boston Tea Party. They'll leave that in there.
Right.
But they'll take out our history, our rebellion, our slave revolts against the oppressor. They're going to remove that history. And that scripture as well. Scriptures say that Judah would where the northern kingdom would basically bow down, or not bow down, but would learn and follow the lead of Judah. You know, and that's what they were doing. When we stood up, everybody else stood up, and that's how it's supposed to be according to the scripture. That's why the Lord said he would raise up the tents of Judah first. Paraphrasing greatly. Here going on today. And that lets you know that the brother they just showed right there was where's face at? Let me see. That brother right there, they killed this man. That was a revolutionary. They killed that man. They made a movie about it and everything. They killed him, but guess what? That revolution still carrying on. Still fighting against the same thing. Still going through the same fight. So just as the title of this class says, you can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution. Got another video right quick, right behind it, by one of our more known brothers. You might have seen it before, but pay attention to it anyway.
Or a repetition of the events that have taken place here in Los Angeles recently, we have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough. And it is because of our effort toward getting straight to the root that people oftentimes think we're dealing in hate.
And that's a key point that he just brought out. Whenever we start to speak on any type of truth, they label it as hate. Just like that sign say right there, color only. Now, if we were to go out on the street, when we go out into the streets and show and prove to our people that this actually existed, they say we teaching hate. We just showing what actually happened, just like they're showing in this video. But when you speak truth, it's considered to be hate.
We are oppressed. We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
And that's a mighty thing that our people have to consider these days. They don't even realize that they hate themselves. The way that they carry themselves, the way that they handle themselves. the things that they admire, the things that they strive to be like, they hate themselves. You got Serena Williams, Sammy Sosa bleaching their skin, Michael Jackson bleaching their skin, you know, cutting your nose off, shaping your nose, shaping your chin. You're hating what the Most High blessed you with. They going and getting BBLs, breast augmentation, hating what the Lord gave them. Wearing wigs, hating what the Lord gave them. Who taught you to hate yourself? That's what he asking. The Lord always told you to love yourself. We have to come back to loving ourselves first. That's part of the revolutionary movement as well. Because if you don't love yourself, how can you expect anybody else to love you? And that's what that brother was saying way back then. Here we are in 2024, and it's 10 times worse. 10 times worse. Think about that.
And I, for one, as a Muslim, believe that the white man is intelligent enough. If he were made to realize how black people really feel and how fed up we are without that old compromise and sweet talk. Stop sweet talking it. Tell him how you feel. Tell him what kind of hell you've been catching, and let him know that if he's not ready to clean his house up, if he's not ready to clean his house up, he shouldn't have a house. It should catch on fire and burn down.
All praises for the mighty spirit on that brother. But the thing about it, even though he was raising us up and pointing out the obvious and calling the man or the man of perdition, calling him out for what he is, the devil that the Bible speaks of, it was still something that was being missed. Just like Martin was trying to do, just like Garvey was trying to do, just like various other brothers and sisters. They were trying to stand up against oppression, but they didn't know the real message to teach the people. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 9. 9 through 11. Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 9 through 11. Because it was all good efforts. I applaud that brother. That brother stirs my spirit every time I listen to him speak. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, bring it out, King.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28, verse 9. The prophet, which prophesies of peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Lord hath truly sent him.
Read.
Then Hananiah, the prophet, took the yoke from off the prophet Jeremiah's neck and brake it.
Read.
And Hananiah spake in the presence of all the people, saying, Thus saith the Lord, even so I will break the yoke of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, from the neck of all nations, within the space of 2 full years. And the prophet Jeremiah went his way.
All right. So Hananiah spake in the presence of all the people at the time, building them up in the spirit just like Malcolm was doing. All right. Verse 13.
Verse 13. Go and tell Hananiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Thou hast broken the yokes of wood, but thou shalt make for them yokes of iron.
So you telling them that the yoke's gonna be taken off from stand up against this man, to make change. But thou shalt make them yokes of iron. Read.
Verse 14. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, I have put a yoke of iron upon the neck of all these nations, that they may serve Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and they shall serve him. And I have given him the beasts of the fields also.
All right, read. No, jump down to verse 16. No. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, keep reading. 15 and 16. Excuse me.
Verse 15. Then said the prophet Jeremiah unto Hananiah the prophet, Hear now, Hananiah, the Lord hath not sent thee, but thou makest this people to trust in a lie.
Read that again.
The Lord hath not sent thee, but thou makest this people to trust in a lie.
Read.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will cast thee from off the face of the earth. This year thou shalt die, because thou hast taught rebellion against the Lord.
And I brought that out just to show you how what was going on in the 60s is the same things that was going on during the slave revolts in different countries, even back all the way to Nat Turner and beyond that. You know what I'm saying? Our people would say, peace is on the way. Hey, we got to stand up. We got to fight. But at the same time, we telling our people to trust in a lie. Just stand up and fight this man, or come together and fight this man, as if tell him where he's going wrong, as if that's going to change anything. When you read the scriptures, you understand that this man is not going to hear what we got to say. He breaks every rule, everything that he says, every covenant that he speaks on. The Lord said he is like a deaf adder, like a snake with his ears covered. Snake don't even hear. He feels. You know what I'm saying? Say this man will not hear your words. So we going and bucking up trying to tell him, hey, we don't like what you're doing, this and that. That's not going to change his mind. For one, because the Lord sent them upon us for our rebellion. And that's the one thing that all throughout history, our people have never stood up and told our people what we were supposed to be doing. So we began to trust in lies, rebellion, because thou hast taught rebellion against the Lord. Now you might be saying, hey, we being oppressed, we got to do something. But the answer was right there in front of us, just like it's right in front of us today. And the same people that we look up to are the same ones that carry the Bible, read the Bible, but they are not teaching our people what we're supposed to be doing. They fight against oppression, being beat up and locked up, which is understandable. But the main reason why this is happening, nobody knows the answer. We think it's because of the color of our skin, because we're just hated. Nah, it's bigger than that. It's because of our rebellion and because we chosen. But when we do these things, we teach and mislead our people by thinking, hey, just like they do today, graduate high school, go get a college degree. Your life is good. That's a lie. Just stick together. Everything will be all right. That's a lie. What we need to do is come back to serve Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Then everything will be all right. But when we tell our people to do anything but that, we are teaching them to trust in a lie. We have to understand it. All right. Let's go to Second Ezra right quick. Chapter 16, verse 19. Like the scripture said, hey, when we teach them anything but keep the law, statutes, and the commandments, we teaching them to believe in lies. Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 19. Excuse me. Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 19.
I got Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 19. Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment.
So these things, famine, plague, tribulation, and anguish, are sent for scourges for the amendment of the wickedness that we have done as a people, and for the wickedness of these other nations. Read on.
Verse 20. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges.
So all the things that we go through and have seen throughout history, the famines, the plagues, all the tribulation and anguish that we go through, yet for all that, our people will not turn from their wickedness, nor be mindful of the scourges, or the things that continue to happen. You know what I'm saying? Just like people, 2020, they was marching and tearing the streets up for George Floyd, just like they was doing back in the day for Rodney King and various other places. All the wickedness that was going on with our people, yet and still we ain't turned from our wickedness at all. The Lord said he gonna punish us by the things that we sin by the same way. That's how we're gonna be punished. So he promised us when we broke the commandments that he was gonna curse us. And those curses are wrapped in what? Famine, plague, tribulation, and anguish, sent for scourges, for judgment, for punishment. And for all these things, our people still won't turn from their wickedness, nor be mindful that they keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. They won't change their ways. I mean, people dying left and right. Family members, friends, still ain't gonna change their ways. Think about that. Jump down to verse, you know what? Keep reading. Verse 21.
Verse 21. Behold, victuals shall be
Meaning foods. Victuals is foods. Go ahead.
Shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion.
So it said, behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon the earth. That's your dollar menus right there. You know what I'm saying? You buy one, get one. You pick fives. You know, food gonna be so good and cheap upon the earth, they gonna think they in a good spot. Man, we got it good. And even then, evil shall grow upon the earth. We see that day in and day out. Evils is growing and multiplying in the earth. The sword, more death than you ever seen in your lifetime. Every time you turn on the news, you seeing your people getting gunned down. Death everywhere. Famine all around the world, in great confusion. Great confusion. You don't even know who a man or who a woman no more. Great confusion is in this world. Read on.
Verse 22. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy.
See that for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. See that? That's famine of food and famine of the word. And the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Think about that. That's why we need to be being fed by the bread of the Lord, which is Yahushua. That bread that came down from heaven, paraphrasing. That's what we need to be feeding on daily. But let's go and get some examples in the scriptures of some brothers that had that revolutionary mindset. Let's go to the book of Acts right quick, chapter 7, verse 20. Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 20. Book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 20, and we're going to read that to 25.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 20. In which time Moses was born, and was exceeding fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son.
Read.
And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds.
That's just like we are today. You know, we being brought up in this society, we learning the ways of Esau, we learning their history, we learning the wisdom of the Egyptians or the Babylonians, just like Moses did. Read.
And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel.
So, read on.
And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him and avenged him that was oppressed, and smote the Egyptian.
Read.
For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that God by his hand would deliver him, but they understood not.
You see that? He went out there and he stood up and he fought for his brothers. But even though he delivered them through the hand and thought that they would understand that the Most High did, that they understood not. Just like we waking up to this truth, going out and fighting week in and week out for our brothers and sisters, they don't understand the severity of the situation. They don't understand the sense of urgency that's behind it. They think we crazy. We just some crazy niggas out there on the street just reading the Bible.
Right.
They think we crazy because we change our diets and don't want to eat the abominable foods anymore. Because the sisters don't want to dress and look like whores anymore. They want to represent themselves in a royal fashion as they were designed to be. They come back to wearing their natural hair. We come back to standing up as real men and not chasing the characteristics of a man as laid out in this world. They look at us as we strange, but they understood not. You know what I'm saying? But this right here just showing you a small glimpse of how Moses, from a youth, grew up to be a revolutionary. He knew the works, the ways, the educational system of the Egyptians. He knew that they was a superpower. He knew who was in charge. He knew what would happen if he stood up against them. But he didn't care about that. He was fearless to do what? Recompense the heathen fully for his people. But even when he did that for his own, hey, they didn't even understand it. You know? From there, let's go to Nehemiah chapter 4. Just going to show you a couple of examples of the prophets moving in a revolutionary spirit. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 4. Nehemiah chapter 4.
All right.
And we're going to start at verse 6. And we're going to read to 14. Now, for those who don't know, during the time of Nehemiah, that's when we were allowed to come back and rebuild the temple. And that's what was going on at this time. Read on.
All right. The book of Nehemiah, chapter 4, verse 6. So built we the wall. All the walls were joined together unto half thereof, for the people had a mind to work.
Read.
Verse 7. But it came to pass that when Sabbath and Tobiah and the Arabians and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up and that the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth.
So this is talking about the other nations right here. It's talking about when we started rebuilding our fortress, our kingdom, just as we doing right now. It said the Arabians, the Ammonites, and the Ashdodites, they became very wroth, meaning they were pissed off seeing us we were being in unison, in unity, and we're building our kingdom back up. Read on.
Verse 8. And conspired all of them together to come and fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it.
And to hinder it, read.
Verse 9. Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our God and set a watch against them day and night because of them.
You see that? We didn't go out looking for another nation to save us. We made our prayer unto the Most High, Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, and set watch against them day and night. Read.
Verse 10. And Judah said, the strength of the bearers of burden is decayed, and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build the wall.
Read.
11. And our adversary said, they shall not know neither see till we come in the midst among them and slay them and cause the work to cease.
You see that? So the enemies, our adversaries, the other nation, the heathen, were plotting on us to try to slay us and cause the work, the building to cease, meaning trying to hinder the building. Read.
Verse 12. And it came to pass that when the Jews which dwelt by them came, they said unto 10 times, they said unto us 10 times, from all places whence ye shall return unto us, they will be upon you. Verse
Read.
13. Therefore set I in the lower places behind the wall, and on the higher places I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows. Verse 14. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the rulers and to the rest of the people, be not ye afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is greater and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses. Verse 15. And it came to pass, when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and God had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned all of us unto the wall, everyone unto his work. Verse 16. And it came to pass from that time forth that the half of my servant wrought in the work, and other half of them held both the spears, the shields, and the bows, and the habergeon, and the ruler were behind all the house of Judah. You want 17?
I think you fell out again, King.
Okay. I'm gonna read verse 17. Verse 17. They which builded on the wall, and they that bear burdens with those that laid it, everyone with his hand wrought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon. Verse 18. For the builders, everyone had his sword girded by his side, and so builded, and that he sounded the trumpet was by me. So while they were building, they had their trumpet by their side. I mean, their sword by their side, ready. Whenever that time come, when it was about to pop out, they had a sword by their side and a trumpet. Because as you know, when they blew their trumpets back then during that time, they knew that the Lord would hear them trumpets and would fight for them.
Tonight.
You back, brother?
He's trying. Yeah, I'm back.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So,
All right, let's go back to where was it? Nehemiah. Let's go to verse 14.
Okay.
Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 14.
All right, verse 14. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the rulers and to the rest of the people, be not ye afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses.
See that? Once again, Nehemiah was doing the same thing with the people as Mattathias was doing with his sons and with the people. He was saying, hey, be ye not afraid of them. Remember the Lord. He didn't say go call on another nations. He said, hey, don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord. Meaning call and pray to the Lord, which is great and terrible. That's the one thing our people must understand about the Lord, because Christianity or this world would just have you thinking that the Most High is just all love. Excuse me. Nehemiah said at least once, at least 3 times in this chapter, in his book, where it's speaking about the Lord being great and terrible, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren. That's the one thing that they were missing with the 60s movements and before then, and even now sometimes. They standing up and protesting against oppression, but they're not remembering the Lord throughout the process. You know what I'm saying? They saying fight for your brethren, your sons, your daughters, and wives, which we should, but they missing the part of remembering the Lord. They leaving the Lord out of it. They leaving his rules, his law, statutes, and commandments out of it. But all praise to the Most High that he didn't remove the cobwebs from our eyes where we able to see these things now.
Right.
Now we able to stand bold, 10 toes down, with a fervent spirit, ready to stand boldly for the Lord first, then for the brothers and sisters, by teaching them and commanding them to keep the commandments of the Lord. All right. So from there, let's go to the book of John right quick, just to show you how they thought about Christ being a revolutionary. Let's go to the book of John, chapter 11. And we're going to start at verse 41. The book of John, chapter 11, verse 41.
This is the book of John, chapter 11, verse 41. Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Yahushua lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me.
You see that he always giving reference, credit, glory to the Father. Not himself, but to the Father. Read.
And I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me.
Read.
And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth.
So this is the story of Lazarus when Yahushua basically called him out of sleep or called him back to life. Read.
Verse 44. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Yahushua said unto them, Loose him and let him go.
Read. You're
Then
going to read
many
to 48.
Verse 48.
Nah, you're going to read to 48.
Read it for me. Verse 45. It's like, then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Yahushua did believed on him.
So the ones that seen what was going on, how he raised Lazarus from the dead, they believed on him. Read.
Verse 46. But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what things Yahushua had done.
So some of them, they wasn't on board with that. They were like, oh, hell no. Nah. They ran to the Pharisees. Read.
Verse 47. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles.
Not only is that our own people, but that's the same mindset that these heathens be having whenever we start building, standing boldly for this truth, or just doing anything in life, period. They come together, they have crafty counsels to destroy or hinder the building. Whatever it is that we do, they always come together to try to hinder our building. Read that one more time from the top.
Then gathered the chief priests and Pharisees a council and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles.
Many miracles. Read.
If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation.
You see that? They were worried about losing their position in society. That's what we were talking about earlier about that revolutionary mindset. You got to be fearless, you know, and to be able to change social events, politics, and a cultural change. You know what I'm saying? That got to be the mindset. But they were thinking, hey, we got to stop this man. He moving the masses. That's the same thing that they were saying back in the 60s and even today. Anybody who's able to gain the mind of the people, their first mindset is to eliminate him. Eliminate the head and the body will fall. What you got, King?
Now you just took what I was going to say. Eliminate the head and the body will fall. That's exactly what I was just about to say. They know
Oh,
that.
praise.
It goes to as far as taking out Martin Luther King. It goes as far as taking out Malcolm X. It goes even as far as taking out A.O.I.
Constantly plotting on taking the head down. The one who was leading, the one who was fearless, the one who was going to stand boldly for the Lord. The wickedness,
Right.
the wicked are the people, they going to try to exterminate, get rid of any light or any righteous figure. You know, anybody who's willing to stand boldly and lead the people against
Right.
the oppression, the tyranny, against all the things that have our people misled and believing in lies. All right.
Right.
From there, let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 17. Show you how the people thought about the disciples being revolutionary, or how what they did in turn was considered to be revolutionary. The book of Acts, chapter 17, we're going to start at verse 1 and read to 8.
The book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 1. Now, when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, excuse me, how you pronounce it?
You had it right the first time.
Okay. And Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Jews. Verse
So they
2.
went to this place, Thessalonica, where they had a synagogue, kind of like a temple or a church of the Jews. Read.
And Paul and his manner went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures.
So
Verse 3.
Paul was there in that synagogue reasoning with them for 3 Sabbaths. That's 3 weeks. Read on.
Verse 3. Opening and alleging that Christ must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that this Jesus whom I preach unto you is Christ. Verse
So he
4.
was spreading the gospel, the glorious gospel, convincing them through the scriptures how it was prophesied for Christ to come and die for the people, for our nation, the nation of Israel, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, according to Matthew 15:24. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas, and of the devout Greeks a great multitude, and of the chief women not a few.
So it was a lot of people that believed once these brothers started speaking and going to work and bringing these scriptures out. Go ahead.
Verse 5. But the Jews which believed not, moved with envy, took unto them certain lewd fellows of the master sort, and gathered a company, and all the city of an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jason, and sought to bring them out to the people. Verse
So
6.
even though it was a lot of people that believed what Paul and Silas was bringing out, just like we read earlier about Yahushua, they seen him raise Lazarus from the dead. It was some that was standing right there. They still didn't believe, and they went and plotted with the Pharisees. Just like then with Paul and Silas, the same thing happened. A lot of people believed, but it was still some that were envious that took unto them lewd fellows of the baser sort and gathered a company and set all the city on an uproar. So they out there speaking lies, causing a riot, an uproar among the people about what Paul and Silas is out there speaking, and assaulted the house of Jason and sought to bring them out to the people. So they done got the people up and ante, ready to raise war about what they out there teaching, to bring them out to the people. Read on.
Verse 6. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, These they have turned the world upside down, are come hither also.
So they were saying Paul and Silas, they done came here teaching and turned the world upside down. They done rebelled against everything that's been laid out, the traditions, the customs of men, the ways of society at that time. They come in there speaking something new that the people ain't never heard of. That's gonna turn the people away from following wickedness to following righteousness.
Verse 7. who Jason have received, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, one Jesus.
You see that? So they run into the king, and they say, "Hey, they doing contrary to the laws of Caesar, or the so-called white man, saying there's another king, one Jesus." Read.
Verse 8. And they troubled the people and the rulers of the city when they heard these things. Verse
See
9.
that? So the people were set up in an uproar because of the wickedness of these men who were envious of what Paul and Silas were out there teaching. They weren't doing that for no vainglory. They weren't out there for no accolades, no trophy, for no BET awards, for no Grammys, for no Oscars. They ain't doing it. They was out there speaking the truth, putting their life on the line to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet and still, you got the envious ones who are constantly plotting and scheming to try to overthrow righteousness. You see that today going on. I wish I had the video, but they had actual Christian pastors of our own people coming together where they had like 9 different pastors on a Zoom call talking about what they're going to do about these Israelites. They taking the people out of the church. They teaching the truth. What are we going to do to combat this?
Nothing.
Ain't nothing you can do. You can kill the revolutionary, but you can't stop the revolution. You know what I'm saying? The words of the Lord will not fail. They're going to continue. They're going to be here forever. It is what it is. But I got another little quick video. I got 2 of them actually. But bear with me right quick, Israel.
Hey, bro.
Go ahead.
And what they don't know is the more they buck up against us, the more we gonna buck up back against them. They don't understand it. It's best that they leave us alone.
Hey, that's just how it is. You know, got to keep pushing though.
Right.
Where is it? Where is it? Yeah. All right. Now, this brother right here, majority of us are familiar with him. If you're young, a child, whatnot, watching this, you might not have heard of him, but more than likely you have. And this was a young brother that died at a young age named Tupac. All right. And at his time, when he first started out, he was raised to be somewhat of a revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna play the video right quick.
Tupac. My mother, when she had when she gave birth to me, she was just coming out of jail, being in jail because they was holding her for the trial. So she had all these these women, strong women around her, and she was like, "What am I going to name my son?" And it was this lady who just came from Peru, and she was telling my mother this folk story about a true life Peruvian revolutionary named Tupac Amaru, who the government had told them, okay, we wanted. He was fighting the government, and he was really winning. These little fucking tribes was beating the government, and they said, okay, we want to stop fighting. We want to meet with Tupac Amaru. He came in and met with them, and they said, we want to cease the fighting. Would you please cease the fighting? Too many people are dying. We're going to give you what you asked for. He said, okay. Told them to cease fire. As soon as they said cease fire, they cut his arms off, cut his head off, cut his legs off, and stuck him on a stick and put him in the middle of the village. So this is my reminder. That's my reminder. Every time you say my name, that's my reminder to never compromise myself and to never quit. There's no such thing as a truce while people ain't free.
You see that? So this is going into how that brother got his name, but I'm gonna go into a little history on the guy he was speaking about, where his name actually came from. All right. Let me put this on the screen. Make sure it's on
Tenants, termites, and toilets. Has that kept you from owning real estate? Because I know it kept.
Have you struggled with procrastination, overwhelm, lack of clarity, or wasting time on things that have nothing to do with getting what you really?
His elder son, Inca Empire lay in ruins, its people subjugated under the oppressive rule of Spanish colonizers. But in the late 18th...
Spanish colonizers known as the conquistadors. Remember that, conquistadors.
Century, one man would rise and ignite a revolution that shook the foundations of colonial Peru. The year was 1780, and the once mighty Inca Empire was now a distant memory.
For those who don't know, these brothers are the Incas was part of the tribe of Asher of the Northern Kingdom.
The Spanish conquistadors had long since conquered the region, exploiting its rich resources and oppressing its indigenous people. But amidst the darkness, a ray of hope emerged. But in the late 18th century, one man would rise up and ignite a revolution that shook the foundations of colonial Peru. His name was Tupac Amaru II, a direct descendant of the Inca royalty who rejected the brutality of Spanish domination and fought to liberate his people. This is the epic story of his crusade for justice and indigenous self-determination against seemingly impossible odds. Before we get fully into the video, and reshaping Peruvian society under the oppressive system known as the encomienda. Indigenous population.
The encomienda, all right? Pay attention to that.
Populations were stripped of their lands, stripped of their freedoms, and forced to abandon traditional ways and adopt Spanish religion, language, and customs. Those who resisted faced violence, torture, or death at the hands of colonists. The Inca nobility and population were made virtual serfs under the encomienda, required to pay onerous tribute in labor and goods to their new Spanish landlords.
Spanish landlords. So the conquistadors came over and started assaulting them, taking their land, putting rules in place, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But jump up to 14 minutes.
These skillfully exploited any divisions, knowing Tupac Amaru was the spiritual linchpin keeping the diverse rebellion united. Capture and death of Tupac Amaru II. With rebel momentum stalled, Tupac Amaru's whereabouts became the Spanish top priority. In May 1781, local noble allies betrayed his location in exchange for amnesty, allowing royalist forces to capture him by surprise.
You see that? It was of his own people that turned against him and betrayed him so that they can get some type of amnesty. Just like if you watch that movie, The Black Messiah, the guy that betrayed him, that was given all the whereabouts and whatnot, the layout of the apartment that they lived in, it was the same type of dude that had got jammed up for stealing cars. So in order for them to let him free, they used him to infiltrate the Black Panther movement. Just like Judas Iscariot, they used him to find out where Yahushua was. Gave him money. This is a constant theme throughout history. You know, you had something to add, bro? All right.
Near his highland estates. His wife Michaela and remaining family members were also seized alive. Though denied his request for a discreet death, the Spanish commander hoped to divide the remaining rebels by sparing Tupac Amaru initially. But the paranoid viceroy in Lima demanded the maximum public punishment to crush future dissent. On May
See that? They wanted to do a public execution in front of the people to crush all rebellion, any hopes of rebellion. Anybody taking his place, they want to do it in front of everybody, just like they used to do us back on the plantation that you can read about in the what that book was, the Willie Lynch letter,
right,
where they would do the same thing that you just seen done in that picture. Let me see if I can play it on a little bit.
Amaru initially, but the paranoid,
just like you see in this picture right here, had our strong and let me see, courageous men tied limb from limb to the back of a horse, and they would rip them in half in front of everybody. Not only would that reduce any type of rebellion or uprising to continue, but it also destroyed the image of the black man or the Israelite man, excuse me. It would destroy our image, showing that we were not able to protect ourselves because we were being done like that by the oppressor. You know what I'm saying? And the psychological aspect of it goes deep all the way up to now, where it relayed a message to our sisters, to our women, to show that we couldn't protect ourselves. So how would we be able to protect them? And that's one of the reasons why they run to the other nations, because of that very reason that you see in this on the screen right there. How they would destroy us and kill us in front of everybody and have us shook and scared. Go ahead, King.
And when they saw us being done like that, it put them in full subjection. And like they say, if a woman was pregnant and she saw that, and they said like her fear or her adrenaline, what she saw, it would if she's pregnant, you know, what she saw would trickle down to the child that was in her womb even before that child was born. You know.
Wow. That's deep right there.
Viceroy in Lima demanded the maximum public punishment to crush future dissent. On May 18th, the revolutionary leader was brought in chains to the central plaza of Cusco. Before an assemblage of lacerated indigenous prisoners and a mixed audience of celebrating colonists, Tupac Amaru was stripped bare and subjected to one of the most excruciatingly prolonged and ritualized tortures in history over several hours. On a fateful Friday in May, the streets of Cusco were filled with an atmosphere of dread and unease as a group of prisoners, led by the courageous Tupac Amaru, were marched towards the Plaza Mayor. The crowd gathered.
Is that not the same thing that happened to Yahushua? Did they not march him through the street to the Calvary Hill, toting the cross, so to speak? Did that not happen? Same thing happening with this brother and the other rebel leaders. That's how you know these are the same people. We as a nation keep going through the same thing, being oppressed in the same fashion.
To witness the spectacle was tense and subdued, with hardly a whisper among them. The only sound was the clanging of swords and the rustling of armor as heavily armed militiamen, made up of mulattoes and huamangas, escorted the prisoners. As the procession approached, one observer noted that there were no Indians in the crowd, at least not in their traditional attire. Perhaps they had chosen to stay away, fearing the ceremony would be too distressing, or worried that the tense atmosphere might erupt into violence. The gallows had been erected in the center of the plaza, guarded by armed mulattoes, and the prisoners were dragged towards them, their hands and feet bound tightly. A town crier proclaimed, "This is the justice that in the name of the king, our lord, Don José Antonio de Areche, imposes. He who does it pays for it. Quien tal hace, que tal pague." The first to meet their fate were Diego Verdejo, Antonio Oblitas, Antonio Bastidas, and Antonio Castello. They were hanged, that she refused to open her mouth, and thus the executioners were forced to cut it after her death. They then strapped her into the garrote, but according to some accounts, her neck was too thin and the garrote failed to work. The executioners resorted to strangling her with a rope, their brutish hands squeezing the life out of her. José Gabriel was forced to watch, his heart shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. No more significant effort could have instilled terror in the minds of potential rebels against colonial tyranny. Yet even facing such prolonged agony, the indomitable spirit of Tupac Amaru refused to break. He reportedly pronounced defiant curses against Spanish domination with his dying breaths. Only after being quartered and beheaded was the noble rebel finally permitted to die. His dismembered body parts were then displayed around Cusco as a horrible warning to the upcoming rebels, legacy and Peru independence.
So brought that out to show you, that oppression for our people will continue until Yahweh comes set things back in order. Until we stand up as a nation of people and start walking that righteous path. Start doing the things that are required. Then the Lord will start to fight for us. But I'm going to go into a few scriptures to show you who this devil is and why he is actually in the position that he's in right now. Let's go to Revelation chapter 6. You got some?
Yeah, I want to bring out a script right fast, just to show how we just saw how they tortured that brother. Go to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4, and it says, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith." So they're letting us know that this man, his soul is lifted up, and is not up, is not on the up and up. Something is wrong with this man that he can do people like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the black man that went through the type of torture that and it wasn't just Esau issuing out the torture.
Right.
He's not our only adversary, and the black man is not the only person to endure or to take on what they had to issue out to us.
That's right.
His spirit is not upright in him. His soul, which is not lifted up, is not upright in him.
All right. Good point, King. Let's go to Revelation chapter 6 right quick. Revelation chapter 6, and we're going to start at verse 7.
This is Revelation chapter 6, verse 7. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see."
Read.
And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth.
You see that? So going into the fourth seal, when it's talking about he was seeing a vision of a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. All right. So what is the fourth part of the earth? All right. The fourth part of the earth. This is a book called The Fourth Part of the World. All right. It's written by Toby Lester. All right. One of the main things you read, it's a book that goes into several accounts throughout history on how they actually put maps together and how they determine that the western side of the world, the Americas, so to speak, were called the fourth part of the world. All right. It says the earth is divided into three parts, one of which is called Asia, the second Europe, the third Africa. Apart from these three parts of the world, there exists a fourth part beyond the ocean, which is unknown to us. And that's what they were calling the Americas. All right. So the fourth part is actually the Americas. All right. So going back to Revelation, it said, and power was given unto them, meaning death and hell, over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. All right. So to help understand what that is talking about, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 5, verse 12. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 5, verse 12.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 5, verse 12. A third part of thee shall die with the pestilence, and with famine shall they be consumed in the midst of thee. And a third part shall fall by the sword round about thee. And I will scatter a third part into all the winds, and I will draw a sword after them.
So that's going into how Esau would kill, that hell and that death that would follow would be his advanced weaponry, famine, disease, and captivity. That's how he would scatter the third part into all the winds. Captivity through slave ships, pestilence, that's disease. That's what they used to kill off the so-called Native American Indians. Smallpox and various other diseases, with famine. They were able to control us and cut off our food supply, and then we would fall by the sword. That's their advanced weaponry. They came over. We didn't have guns when they came over to this side of the earth. We didn't have guns. They did. Just like today, they got the nukes, the intergalactic ballistic missiles. They got the tanks, the submarines, the jets, so-called spaceships. They got all that. We don't have that. But for those who do own it, hey, they got hell and death to follow them everywhere that they go. They will use those things in order to do what? Conquer the world, conquer the lands. Just like in that video we were just watching about Tupac Amaru, when the conquistadors came over to Peru. They came over there to steal the resources, to conquer their land, and to use the people, take them into captivity. They killed them off with disease and pestilence. They used their weapons against them, and took them into captivity. That's exactly what happened to the Israelites all throughout history due to our rebellion. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25, right quick, just to prove that. Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25. And speaking about our enemy, these conquistadors and so-called white, well, it is the same person, but go ahead.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time, and times and the dividing of time.
All right. So it said, and he shall speak great words against the Most High. Talking about Esau. How he would paint pictures all around the world and have us to believe that he is God. Let me see that. Paint pictures and have our people to bow down to this image. Have us to think that he's God. That see that though. But it said he would speak great words against the Most High and shall wear out the saints. Now, who are the saints? Let's go to Psalms chapter 148, verse 14. Just to prove who the saints are right quick. Psalms chapter 148, verse 14. This is why it's important to study the precepts so you understand who the scriptures is actually speaking to, so that the other nations can't make claim, and try to use the book against us to have us to believe in lies as they constantly do. Psalms chapter 148, verse 14. Excuse me. Go ahead, King.
This is the book of Psalms 148, verse 14. He also exalteth the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel.
Even the children of Israel. So the children of Israel are the saints, according to the Bible. The children of Israel are the saints, according to the Bible, for those who don't know. That's a precept that you want to hold, because the Lord talks about the saints quite a bit, throughout the scriptures. So by you knowing that, you can use that as a precept to understand and to teach with. All right. So going back to Daniel chapter 7, verse 25, it says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, painting pictures, painting Christ to look like so-called white man, making the angels look like so-called white man, the Most High God to be a white man, everybody in the Bible to be a so-called white man. He speak great words. He say that the laws and statutes and commandments of God are done away with. Those are great words. That's rebellion. Not great words in as it a good thing, but great words is how dare he. That's blasphemy.
Let me bring out the precept.
Go ahead, King.
First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48. And it reads, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. So these other nations, mainly Esau, they laid open the Bible, and they decided to paint the likeness of their images, meaning take our images out and put their images in and deceive the whole world.
That's right. Good precept, King.
Yes, sir. You got it, bro.
So the same individual that would speak great words against the Most High would change up everything. It said, and to think to change times and laws. So they have changed the times. They haven't changed it, but they have changed it compared outside of the Bible. I'll put it that way. The scriptures say that the year for the Israelite begins in the spring. They have changed it to say, hey, the year begins in January and the dead winter. They have changed times. They say Christ was born in December 25th when he was actually born in the springtime.
Right.
They have changed times and laws. They saying, hey, don't keep the laws of the book. They done away with, but keep Christmas, keep your birthday, keep Thanksgiving, keep Valentine's Day, Donut Day, Brother and Sister Day, Hot Dog Day, keep all those, but the laws of the Most High God are done away with. They think to change times and law. They haven't changed them. They had just made an illusion, so to speak. The law still stands. The laws are still written in the scriptures. We just have to be bold to stand boldly for them, for the Lord, against the workers of iniquity, to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. He thought he changed something, but he ain't changed nothing. They still stand and they still in appliance to this day. And it says, and they, meaning the Israelites, the saints, shall be given into his hand, meaning captivity, unto a time and times and a dividing of times. That's over 350 years. You know what I'm saying? We will be in their captivity. All right. So from there, let's go to Psalms chapter 17. We winding down, brothers and sisters. We almost out of here. Got 3-4 more precepts. Let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 17. And we're going to start at verse 10. Showing you about these other nations, how they actually were in a position to overthrow us, constantly oppress us. They would put in place because of our rebellion. But read it.
You said 17?
Yeah, Psalm 17 and 10. And we're going to read that to 13.
All right, scroll down to 10 a little bit. You're on 11 on the screen. A little bit more. All right. Book of Psalms, chapter 17, verse 10. They are enclosed in their own fact. With their mouth, they speak proudly.
So they enclosed in their own goodness and their own riches, and they speak proudly. Read.
Verse 11. They have now compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth.
Read.
Verse 12. Like a lion that is greedy of his prey, and it were a young lion lurking in secret places.
So they just like a lion, greedy of his prey he done ate. They still want more. And they looking at us like a young lion lurking in secret places. Read.
Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword.
Which is what?
Which is thy sword.
Which is what?
Which is thy sword.
Which is thy sword. So the Lord is letting us know through these precepts that he used the other nations as a sword to punish us. You see that? I'm gonna get another precept just to prove that. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 13, verse 5. So the Lord used these other nations to punish us. His whipping rod, weapons of indignation, the sword.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Isaiah chapter 13, verse 5.
The book of Isaiah chapter 13, verse 5. They come from a far country, from the end.
Where these other nations come from?
They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land.
You see that they are the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. You see that he told us in Deuteronomy 28 and 49 that he was going to send a nation against us from far, whose tongue we would not understand, who would not have, paraphrasing, that would have no respect to person, whether they old or young, and we're going to put a yoke of iron around our neck, and then he went on in various other curses, talking about how this man was going to destroy and eat up the fruit of our land. But he said, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, the weapons of his indignation. So when we go off, he used the other nation to punish us. But when we stand up in righteousness, he used us to punish them.
Right.
See that?
Right. He also called them a nation of fierce countenance.
Right.
Who would show no difference between the young and the old, meaning it didn't matter if you was 3 or 83. The 3-year-old, the same punishment as that 83-year-old. It didn't matter that you was an elder. It didn't matter that you was a child. He hated us, therefore he spared nobody. But you got
That's right. I'm gonna read that out of Deuteronomy. It says, let me see. Deuteronomy 28:49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, as the brother was bringing out, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest, throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God have given thee. You see that? That's part of the curses that the Lord promised us that would happen the moment that we rebel against him. So he will use these nations as weapons of his indignation whenever we went off. And we kept doing it. That's why we kept going into captivity after captivity after captivity. But Lord willing, hey, our brothers and sisters stand up and say, hey, the hell with that. We're going to march in righteousness from now on, Lord. And that's our job as brothers and sisters that are repentant and still in this truth, to go out and teach these things and command our people to stand in a righteous manner.
That's right.
But let's go to the book of Job right quick. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 20. It's a good chapter too. Talking about how the Lord gonna do the wicked. But let's go to the book of Job, chapter 20, and we're gonna start at verse 4.
This book of Job, chapter 20, verse 4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment.
So he letting you know, hey, since the beginning of time, since man was placed on the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. So they ain't gonna be on top forever. Read.
Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach into the clouds.
Oh, he be proud and mighty. Read.
Yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he?
That's what we read earlier. His plot gonna be dung and worms. They gonna be saying, hey, where the so-called white man at? The one that used to rule over, the one that made the earth shake, the one that had everybody in captivity. Where is he? Jump down to verse 18.
Verse 18. That which he laboreth shall he restore.
Read that again from the top.
That which he labored for shall he restore.
So the things that he labored for and all the things that he stole through bloodshed, stealing the resources, stealing the fruits of our land, shall he restore. Read.
And shall not swallow it down according to his substance. Shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein.
So everything that he didn't work for and stole, he gonna have to get it back. Read.
Right.
Because he have oppresseth and have forsaken the poor.
We are the poor. Read.
Because he have violently taken away a house which he buildeth not.
Because he have taken away from the poor violently and taken a man's house that he ain't even built. He did it back then and he's still doing it today. But the Lord said, hey, he gonna get his. Don't you worry. Let's go to the book of Baruch right quick. This is the last verse, last chapter. The book of Baruch, and we're gonna go to chapter 4. Book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 1. We're gonna read that to 8. This is the mindset that we have to keep in mind at all times, Israel.
The book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as all leave it shall die.
So we got to remember that off top. You know what I'm saying? The laws of the Most High endure forever. So regardless what these seductive spirits be talking about, what these wicked pastors and preachers and deacons be talking about, what these other nations are talking about, hey, the laws of God are still here. The prophet's been speaking that since the beginning. Being revolutionary is telling us to get it in gear. So we got to keep it in order to come to life, keeping these commandments. But when we leave it, that's when we die. And that's why we end up in oppression. Read.
Verse 2. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated.
They say, turn thee, O Jacob, meaning turn from your wicked ways and take hold of it. Don't let nobody snatch it from you. Come with a seductive doctrine to have you to leave the truth and go back to the world. You know, don't let your mind confuse you and have you back in the world, turning your backs on your brothers and sisters. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it, and walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated. Read.
Verse 3. Roll it down a little bit for me. Give not thine honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee to a strange nation.
So don't give your honor to another nation, because that's not profitable. You know, saying we We all one. Everybody can make it to the kingdom. You know, God love everybody. Hey, don't give your honor to another nation that don't deserve it. Don't give your honor and glory to nations who have been put on top of you to rule over you because your rebellion and the fact that they hate you at the same time, have done all these despicable, horrific things to you, yet and still you trying to give your honor to another nation, saying we all equal, we all the same, we all bleed red, the sun shines on everybody. Don't give your honor to everybody. Christ said, I come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I came for my people. Our people caught up in the ways of this world trying to give honor and glory to everybody. The kingdom is spoken about in the scriptures, how it's only for the Israelites, but we've been seduced thinking that it's for everybody. The Lord said that's not profitable to you, because if everybody can get the kingdom, you're not going to strive. You're going to follow and do everything that they do. And they're not going to do anything that's worthy enough to get the kingdom. Therefore, they're going to teach you to do less than or nothing at all. Go ahead, King.
Right. Hey, and there's a deep scripture too, because like I said, give not thy honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto a strange nation. That even goes into having children with these other nations. Because the scripture said, trust in your own stock.
Mm-hmm.
So that we have to do, trust in our own stock, and not, procreate with these other nations. Don't give your honor to another.
Right. So what we're reading right here is the terms or the mindset that you have to have as an Israelite, a repentant Israelite. These are the things you got to keep in your mind at all times. That revolutionary mindset. Don't give your honor to another nation, because that's not profitable to you. Read on.
Verse 4. O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to God are made known unto us.
You see, it say unto us. It didn't say unto all. It say unto us. Israel. Read. Huh?
Who is the us, brother?
That's Israel.
That's right.
Made unto us. It say it at the beginning of the verse. It's talking to us.
Right.
Let's see what it say in the next verse.
Verse 5. Be of good cheer, my people, the memorial of Israel.
You see that? My people, the memorial of Israel. Read.
Verse 6. Ye were sold unto the nation. We were sold. Hold up. Roll down a little bit if I can read. Okay. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath. Ye were delivered unto the enemies.
That's the message we got to be portraying or pushing to our people. It's not just get up and load your guns up and march down the Stone Mountain and talking to the so-called white man in a megaphone thinking that's going to make change. Nah. You need to realize that we were sold, we in the hand of our enemies, because we moved the Most High to wrath. Therefore, he delivered us to our enemies who oppress us. That's what we must consider and have in our mind at all time, regardless who knows what, how long we've been in the truth. This is the message. Read on.
Verse 7. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to God.
We still doing that today as a nation. We sacrificing unto devils. We sacrificing our time and energy to punch clocks for these devils. We sacrificing to Santa Claus, Cupid, damn leprechauns. We sacrificing the devils and not unto the Most High. We supposed to be making our bodies a living sacrifice, day in and day out, serving Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, walking in righteousness. But we here in this world, in this society, sacrificing unto devils. Read on.
Right. Because it said, for ye provoked him. Go scroll down a little bit for me right there. Back to 7. It said, for ye provoked him that made you sacrifice unto devils and not to God. So by us sacrificing to devils and not to him, it made him angry. And like he say, he is a jealous God. He's a jealous God, very jealous. So anytime we start sacrificing or worshiping anything, any other God besides him, we provoke him to anger. We have to remember that. But verse 8, and it says, ye have forgotten the everlasting God that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you.
You see that? We forgot about the Lord. And that's one of the main things that I was talking about from videos that we watched and some of the articles that we read. How our people stood up to fight the enemy, but through it all, we still forgot about the Lord. You know, and even today, our people have a hard time wrapping their mind around the fact that the Lord is in control, that he sent the white man against us, that he sent them to oppress us, that we got to perform in order to be saved. You know, we have a hard time wrapping our mind around it. Just like in times of old, when they seen Yahweh raise up Lazarus, they couldn't believe it. They didn't want to believe it. You know, when Paul and Silas were speaking truth, they didn't want to hear it. Some of them, they didn't want to hear it. You know, just like today. Jump down to verse 14.
All right. Verse 14. Let them that dwell about Zion come, and remember ye the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting have brought upon them.
Read.
Verse 15. For he have brought a nation upon them from far, and a shameless nation, and of a strange language, who neither reverence old men nor pity child.
Is that not going back into them curses?
That's
Is that
right.
not what we read earlier? The
Same
Lord
thing.
said, I had brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation. Ain't no shame in them.
Right. Says
Everything
shame.
that they do, they justify what they do. You know, shooting a child, a boy with a toy gun in his hand, they justified it. Shooting the boy in the back over 90 times while he running away with no gun in hand, they justified it.
Right.
Going into a woman's house when she called for help and shooting her in the face, they justified it.
Right.
You know, going to a man's house and his and claiming to be theirs and shoot him, they justified it.
Right. Hey, choking George Floyd out while he handcuffed with your knee on his neck.
They justified it. They justify slavery, killing your babies, putting guns, drugs, and alcohol in our neighborhoods and seeing it destroy us and kill us. They justify it.
Hey,
a shameless nation. Go ahead, King.
I want to bring this last point out for me. What I want to bring out, it's just like when they make the argument, when they say, well, they justify slavery by saying, well, Africans sold other Africans into slavery. So if that were to be true, they try to say just because it was Africans selling other Africans, that made it okay. But in this day, if I steal a car and you know I stole it and I sell the car to you and you buy it, you still gonna be in trouble with the law. But they try to say they shouldn't be held accountable because we sold ourselves. So they say.
Go right along with that scripture where it say, somebody find me that precept where it say they hold themselves not guilty. Yeah.
They that slaughter these hold themselves not guilty.
But yeah, it said, for he had brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation with a strange language, who have no respect, no reverence of an old man, nor pity child. You got it?
I'm about to get it now.
Okay. I'm going to read on. It says, these have carried away the dear beloved children of the widow, meaning Jerusalem, and left her that was all alone, desolate, without daughters. But what can I help you? But he that brought these plagues upon you will deliver you from the hands of your enemies. So it's not a if. It said upon you will deliver you. That's the mindset we got to have. Because one thing that we forget or we might not have thought about when it comes down to our brothers and sisters who were revolutionary throughout time, they had faith, whether you believe it or not. They had faith in a brighter future or a brighter tomorrow. They had faith that if they stood for their people, they were making a righteous cause. They were doing something that was right for the betterment of the people. So for those who don't know, faith actually fuels revolution, excuse me. Just like Christ, he had faith that if he did what he supposed to, that he would be raised up to the right hand of the Most High, which he would. Just like Paul and Silas had faith that they would be redeemed, that they would be one of the judges judging the 12 tribes. They had faith in it. You know, Moses had faith. Hey, I do what you tell me to do, Lord. Hey, everything gonna turn out right. Therefore, I got to stand up for my people. I got to fight. I got to be the example.
Right.
You found it?
Yes, sir. The book of Zechariah 11, verse 5. Who possess or slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherd pity them not. And that's what we have going on throughout America and other countries. Where we are at, it said who possess or slay them. They do some stuff that's so obvious that was done wrong. And just like the man who, like the brother brought out, shot the lady in the head when she called him for help, and the police ended up shooting her. He enslaved her, and he want them. He trying to say he's not guilty.
Right. They actually trying to damn get his job back.
Right. Who possess us, because we are in their possession, whether y'all believe it or not. Yeah, because you're a millionaire, don't mean you're not in these people's possession.
Right.
We are possessed. We are in their possession. Because if we win, we wouldn't have to walk around with shirts and paint stuff on the street talking about our Black Lives Matter. You ain't seen nobody saying White Lives Matter, because we see that every day. We ain't got to want to do it matter. They're going to show you that it matter as soon as you do something to them.
Right.
But
then it say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich. They saying, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich. And their own shepherds, meaning their own leaders, pity them not. You got all these churches on every block, especially in our neighborhood, ran by our own so-called shepherds who don't pity the people that's getting gunned down. They still in the churches teaching the people that the laws of God are done away with. You can eat whatever you want to. You can dress how you want to. They don't pity our people. Therefore, the ones who possessing us, the ones who are holding us captive, they slay us, get away with it, and they don't hold themselves guilty. And they that sell them, the same ones that had us on them auction blocks, pulling us off them cargo slave ships, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich.
And it said, and their own shepherds pity them not. Now check this out. You think about them black police officers. They supposed to be the shepherds in Memphis who killed that boy. They were supposed to be the shepherds looking out for the people. It said, and their own shepherds pity them not. So what did the shepherds in Memphis do to that boy? They called him and beat the brakes off of him like they was the enemy to him, and killed him. Other black police officers supposed to be the shepherds in Memphis killed that boy. I can't remember his name, but they had no pity toward him. So by those black police officers showing no pity toward their brother, they're gonna encourage the real enemy to also have no pity toward our brother.
That's right. Good point. Let's go back to Baruch and finishing on now. Let's go to Baruch chapter 4. We're going to go to 25.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 25. My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from Yahweh. For thine enemy have persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction, and shalt tread upon his neck.
That's right. Read on.
My delicate ones have gone through rough ways, and were taken away as a flock caught of the enemies.
Read.
Be of good comfort, O my children, and cry unto Yahweh.
And do what?
And cry unto Yahweh.
Pray unto Yahweh. Cry unto him. That's what Mattathias told his son. That what Nehemiah told the people. Remember the Lord. Read.
For ye shall be remembered of him that brought you these things upon you.
Read.
For as it was your mind to go astray from Yahweh, so being returned, seek him 10 times more.
You see that? That's the mindset we got to have. Telling our people the Lord did these things. He did these things because we pissed him off. We kindled a flame, a fire in his eye. Anger. So we got to remember the same one that put these plagues on us, that sent us into the hand of our enemies, said that he will return and save us. But being returned and understanding who we are, we got to seek the Lord 10 times more. Not 1 time more, not 2 times, not 3, 10 times more. Seeking out what his name is, seeking out how his character is, what he actually wants from us, the consequences of old, the consequences of now, in the future, the reward, the promises, the covenants, the laws. We got to seek the Lord 10 times more. That's the mindset that a revolutionary got to have. And when we do these things, we realize, we might be locked up, we might be put to death, but that revolution, this change, it will not stop. You can't kill it. It's going to continue on. Let's go, because in 2 Ezra 6:9, it says Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob, meaning Israel, is the world that follows. We got next. You know what I'm saying? So we got to keep that in mind at all times and stay focused on the Lord. Stay pushing, never giving up, never giving in, because this is what it's all about. So we pray and hope that you brothers and sisters learned something tonight. You didn't fall asleep. Lord willing, you was taking notes and reading along and paying attention. But I'm your brother Ananias.
Brother Leonidas.
Brother Ezekiel.
We are A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel, and we appreciate your time. And as always, we want to give our honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua for the abundance of all things. And on that note, we say shalom, shalom, peace and greetings to you all, and we out.